Denise from ALM. Welcome you to this really exciting, much anticipated webinar to kick off 2017. I'm going to start the session with a quick sound check, so if some of you can just put in a quick OK in the chat box, that'd be much appreciated, please. Terrific. So we're getting a bunch of OKs. Great. All right, so if you have any questions during the webinar, please put them in the chat box, and then we can take them in the order in which they've come in. So I appreciate that, your cooperation there. And moving on to our guest. Well, our guest today has raised over $28 million in 8 rounds of funding. He's written over 4 award-winning books on software development, and he is one of the most influential PPC experts in the industry today. Please welcome Larry Kim. How are you, Larry?
Great, thanks. Happy New Year, everyone. And sorry I was running late here. Basically today, in my presentation here, I wanted to just talk about some kind of online strategies and tactics that you should be thinking about in 2017. And basically, the reason why I think that's worth revisiting, it's just, AdWords, PPC, it's not new. It's been around for like 16 years. And in fact, when it came out 16 years ago, it was kind of a big deal because it was really transformative. You could basically kind of teleport yourself into the heads of the people who are searching for your products and services right at that right moment in time. People searching for cloud storage solutions, and send them directly to, a landing page to capture that demand. Unfortunately, what made this even more amazing was that 16 years ago, like the alternative to the search advertising, it was kind of substantially better than those stupid banner ads that you would see on sites. And basically, I think, for obvious reasons, 16 years ago, this was, the this notion of direct conversion or selling directly through these search ads was kind of the unicorn of PPC marketing. Unfortunately, that was quite a while ago, 16 years ago, and people have kind of caught on, like everyone's doing search and advertising, PPC advertising, and so, when I started this thing, you could do, clicks for 5 cents, really like 5 cents or less. The challenge is that this challenge might be showing some signs of old age. What I mean by this is that cost per clicks are ridiculously high. Okay, so like this is just search CPCs. The problem is, like, you've got millions and millions of advertisers competing for similar terms, and every quarter the prices seem to go up, and every time the cost per click goes up by 1%. That's a 1% decrease in return on investment for you or your customers. Another problem is that query volume on desktop peaked about 3 years ago. So in 2013, there's still more searches happening overall, but mobile it converts kind of differently. The third challenge that I'm seeing here as I look back is that the conversion rates are low and are going nowhere. So every year I run this conversion study, and it's basically the same numbers every year, meaning, and that's a problem because the cost per clicks are going up, and so we're going to have to be more efficient here. Basically, I think when you think of your PPC campaigns next year, we need to figure out some way to fix all of these problems, to make it magical again, like it was when it first came out. More ad impressions, higher click-through rates, lower cost per clicks, and better conversion rates. And of course, it would be cool if we could do this in a way that wasn't just kind of little tweaks here and there, with 1 or 2% gains. What if we could get 3, 4, 5 times improvements, like 300, 400, or 500% improvements? That would be more interesting. And so basically, we're going to be talking about what I call unicorn PPC. It is so awesome when you do it, because it's like you'll be in unicorn land, and it is really sunny and magical there. But before getting into all the details, I just wanted to introduce myself briefly. I'm Larry Kim. In addition to doing PPC, I'm also the founder of the International Unicorn Association, which has a mandate of making PPC magical again. I'm originally from Canada, from a city called Winnipeg. Winnipeg is famous for being the polar bear capital of the world. And of course, I've moved to Boston after graduating college because the weather is so much better there. I'm from a place called Harvard Square. It's just a little neighborhood. It's very famous. It's where Harvard University is. It's where Facebook was founded. It's where Microsoft was founded here as well. It's also where WordStream was founded. I started out probably like a lot of you guys, just like a sole proprietor, like a one-man show, working at out of a bakery because of the free Diet Coke and unlimited unlimited Diet Coke refills and Wi-Fi. But basically, the company's grown a lot. We're about 200 people now, managing about $1 billion of ad spend for over 10,000 customers. So roughly 2% of the entire world's ad budgets are managed by my company. So basically, I have one other thing. I have a 2-year-old kid. Here we are running the Boston Marathon this year. He was trying to be helpful, but actually it was not that helpful. Okay, so back to our story. We're talking about the top 10 kind of strategies and tactics that you should think about using or trying out in 2017 to make PPC magical again. Number 10 would be to fix your quality scores. Now, I was looking at quality scores this past fall, so this was in October of 2016, and what I noticed was in AdWords, the distribution of quality score has changed. So the average right now is 6.5. Okay, so that the average used to be 5. But now the average is 6.5. So what's happening here is that it's not that there aren't crap keywords and crap ads in your accounts. It's that Google is being more picky on which ads to show, and so you can see, if you have a very low quality score, 1, 2, 3, or 4, your ads just aren't likely to be shown in the first place. And so, if you're running ads that aren't being shown, like, what's the point of doing that? It's like you're not even doing any PPC marketing to begin with. And so I think what's happening here is that, as more and more, 60% of these searches are now mobile, there's just fewer ad impressions to go around. So Google needs to be more picky in deciding which ads to show. And so also they eliminated a bunch of spots on the desktop as well. Positions 8, 9, 10, 11 ads were eliminated. And so basically, last year when I looked at the impression share data, what I found was that a 1-point increase or decrease in quality score would result in a 9% increase or decrease in impression share. So your ads are just much more likely to be shown if you had a higher quality score. But this year, when I look at it again, it's gotten even more crazy. It's now it's gotten twice as competitive. So a 1% increase or decrease in quality score results in an 18% increase or decrease in ad impression share on average. So that's whether or not your ads are shown. And so that just shows that it's just so much more competitive. And so, of course, we know that the quality score has always been kind of very important for your cost per click. Obviously, but I don't know if people know that it matters so much on whether or not your ads are shown in the first place. By the way, this isn't just for search ads on Google. Like when you look at all the other ad platforms, Gmail ads, the cost per click it's kind of inversely proportional to the open rate. Higher open rates, like 30%, you're paying 10 cents for these opens. If you have a 5% open, then you're paying $1 for those same clicks. So it's a pretty big deal. Same thing with Google Display Network. If you're doing Google Display Network advertising, generally a 0.1% increase or decrease in click-through rate for those display ads will yield a 20% increase or decrease in cost per click. So it's kind of a big deal here. You really need to get those click-through rates to 0.6, 0.8, or even 1% to get value these days. And if you're doing Facebook and Twitter ads, I definitely think you should be doing this. These are even more leveraged than AdWords. Like the penalties are like plus 1,000% versus like a 1,000% discount. So like if the promoted post that you're posting on Twitter or Facebook has a 1% engagement rate, that's kind of like the click-through rate on social media ads, well then you're going to be paying $3 a click. But if you can get that engagement rate up to 7 or 20 or 30 or 60%, that cost per click will fall to 8 cents to 3 cents to 2 cents to even half a penny. And so basically the key here, the theme here is this machine learning and quality score. The threshold for quality, like in terms of the minimum required engagement, keeps going up, and so you really need to get the engagement numbers up, the click-through rates, and stuff like that. And so I want to talk about how to do this. Now, hopefully I've convinced you that this is important. So my first idea here has to do with expanded text ads and really going nuts with them. Like if you haven't heard of expanded text ads by now, you're probably on the wrong webinar and you're wondering, you probably signed in the wrong URL or something. But basically, expanded text is kind of a big deal. You might not realize how big of a difference they are, in terms of like doubling the headline size and the description size. But my main point here is that this is a terrible expanded text ad strategy where Google has given you this gift of like, double the size of your headline and description. If you're just going to take the same stupid offer an ad text that you were running last year and just kind of frame it in a bigger frame, that is a terrible strategy. What we should be doing is think of what a painter would do. They would completely reimagine what it is we're offering and how we're positioning it to completely take advantage of all the real estate that is now available through this new medium. So typically, our advertisers are seeing some pretty good gains, on average 28% increases in click-through rates. But my point is just to say that there's a couple advertisers who are actually doing worse off with expanded text ads, like a small minority. Like don't be those donkeys. But a few advertisers are seeing between 80 and 132% improvements in click-through rates just by being really clever with expanded text ads. And so that's kind of a game changer. So how will we do this? Well, here's a couple ideas on how to get the most out of your expanded text ads. One of them has to do with kind of moving obvious calls to actions from headlines and getting them out of there, getting them out of your expanded text ads and moving them into the site links. All right, so this might sound crazy, guys, but the problem is whenever I read articles on the web, they always say stupid things like you need a call to action and blah blah blah. You need these call to actions. This is 2017. Most people know that if you click on a blue link, that you're going to go to a website where you can buy the thing or learn more. So now that we have all this space. Before it was there was only 25 characters in the headline. We had to be really precise, so we had to say stupid things like buy now. But now you can actually describe more what it is you're offering and why you're different and what your guarantee is and how it's differentiated. And people have kind of gotten smarter. They know that if you click on a link, you can buy the thing. Duh. So basically, the idea here is to clear the decks and really rethink kind of these stupid strategies of the obvious calls to actions, and instead, if you really need those calls to actions, you can still include them in the site links, but the idea here is to really open up the headline here to be something a little bit more differentiated. So my number 7 idea here is to also blow up dynamic headline, dynamic keyword insertion. So dynamic keyword insertion, it's kind of like this hack where you just parrot back with the words that people were searching for in the headline, and I think that was really popular because you only had 25 characters, and so it was really hard to say something meaningful, and so you're like, what the heck? Why don't we just put the headline as the search query? Here's the thing. I do a lot of analysis of ads, and basically there's a lot of variance in terms of performance. So depending, obviously you have different performance based on your ad position, but just take, for example, ads in position 1. So the worst 10% of these ads, and by the way, this is done based on that analysis of I've got billions of, I manage $1 billion of ad spend, so I can just query this data and figure this out. That's how I'm able to pull this data for you. But basically, the bottom 10% of ads, in the first position are getting a 5% click-through rate. So if you're getting a 5% click-through rate, you are 3 times worse than the average. The average in the number 1 spot is actually 27%. But the top 10% of ads in that top spot can get 55% click-through rates. So that's twice as better than the average. And so if you find these donkey ads, the bottom 10%, and if you can turn them into unicorns, the top 10%, that's actually a 6 times improvement. And so you see these ads here, they're all dynamic keyword insertion, they're all donkeys. You know, big data solutions, it's all the same ads from Hewlett-Packard, Prismatech, and Cisco. Do you know how I know these are all donkeys? I call this an AdWords jackpot. It's like you're playing a slot machine and you get 3 of the same. Here I hit a row of 3 big data solutions. So this is a jackpot for me because it means there's an opportunity to make a lot of money here. Here's my analysis. Basically what I can tell you is that when you look at ads and the headline technique, if you're trying to find the unicorns and what makes them tick, those top 10%, the ads that use dynamic keyword insertion are likely to be kind of upper middle class, like they can be above average, you know. But if you're trying to get into the top 5% or top 1% of ads, well then actually dynamic keyword insertion isn't all that effective. In fact, they're substantially less likely to be unicorns. You know, instead the unicorns rely on other factors like guarantees or differentiators or humor. So let's talk about this. So hopefully I've convince you to get rid of dynamic keyword insertion. If you want to still keep them, you can still keep them in the path. So like you can use dynamic keyword insertion in the dynamic paths. But really what we're trying to do is free up the headline space for something even more important. And so basically in my unicorn research lab, what we've done here is we've looked at thousands and thousands of ads, the top 99.9999 percentile of ads. And what makes them tick. And I just wanted to give you kind of 3 takeaways that we learned here. And the first hack has to do with leveraging emotional triggers. So these 9 emotions make people click on PPC ads like crazy. Laughter, fear, amusement, joy, curiosity, awe, empathy, sadness, and anger. Remember those big data software ads? Did any of those use fear or joy or empathy or sadness or laughter or amusement or anger? No, they did not. They were just dynamic keyword insertion, and so they do not make people want to click like crazy. The second idea here is that you have to, now that we have room, we can write these ads from the perspective of one of these 4 personas. So don't make it sound like Google is speaking to you or the company is speaking to you. Rather, have the tone and the perspective of the ad come from either the bearer of bad news, a hero or a villain, a comedian, or a feel-good friend. One of those 4 personas, those are the winning personas. And I wanted to give you a couple examples of how we turn donkey ads into unicorn ads by combining the number 7 hack, which was emotional hooks, and the number 6 hack, which was leveraging personas. And so here's an example of a unicorn ad. The persona is the hero and the villain. The emotion that we're trying to trigger here is anger and revenge, and then the search is for a query for divorce lawyer. And instead of just using dynamic keyword insertion, saying the divorce lawyer, we're really, trying to push these buttons. Who's your husband with right now? Is he sleeping with her? Get revenge and a smile on your face. This thing gets like a 56% click-through rate, and this is the unicorn. Especially if you consider that everyone else, they're just donkeys. This is an AdWords jackpot because everyone is doing the same stupid ad, and they all are donkeys. And so I wanted to give you one other example. This is something for breast cancer screening. This is an ad that is, I think, okay. It's not, but it's not a unicorn. It's kind of like an upper-class donkey. Breast cancer screening with early detection survival rate is 100%. Book an appointment today. I mean, it's very matter of fact. It feels like the company is speaking to you or the organization. It doesn't feel like it's a friend or a villain. There's no emotional trigger here. So let's see what we can do here. The new ad. We just changed it to have a persona. In this case, it's the bearer of bad news, and we're using the emotion of fear to motivate people to get screened for breast cancer. So the new ad reads, breast cancer screening, only 15% of women live 5 years with late detection get screened. So I think if I read this, if I was a woman and I was trying to figure out if I have breast cancer, if I read this, this is going to be a lot more motivating to set up that appointment with the doctor because of that pretty scary statistic, which is absolutely true, by the way. You know, I'm not suggesting that you come up with fake things to scare people to buy your products. This is 100% true fact. And so, what happen to this in terms of the outcome? Well, we went from an average of 4 appointments being booked per day to 9 appointments being booked today. So, what's happening here is that the higher the click-through rate, the higher the conversion rate. Why? It's because if you can get people excited about clicking on something and going to your website, that excitement will carry through to a purchase or a lead. And so yeah, there's basically it was a huge, not only a huge increase in appointment books, but also call volumes. And so one last tip when you're thinking about how do you structure the use of the persona and the emotional triggers into a headline. This is a format that's commonly used by viral articles, like the stuff that does well in BuzzFeed and on Facebook, like fake news sites use this like crazy, and it's like really irresistible clickbait. It's basically you use the format, emotional hook, content type, and topic, like 4 awesome ad copy strategies to 6 times your click-through rate. That's very compelling, and I know exactly why I would want to click on this. By the way, as a bonus, by raising the click-through rates, one extra bonus is that it'll also do really well on social media organically. So if you take those unicorn ads, you know, and put those ads on social media organically, even just like put an offer, like the same, basically the same emotions that make people want to click on things in Google search makes people want to click and share things on Facebook, and so and both Quality Score is on both Facebook and on Google. Like, they both reward high engagement. And so basically all these strategies are also valid for social media and vice versa. You can take your best performing social media stuff and throw them on AdWords, and it'll likely do very, very well because it's these emotional hooks that make people want to click on things. So my number 5 hack has to do with a unicorn and donkey detector. So basically, what's the unicorn donkey detector? We need to figure out if your ads and your content are true unicorns or if they're just donkeys with plungers on their head. And so basically, when I talk about unicorns, I'm talking about kind of the top 10%. I'm not, you know, the thing about marketers is they're all biased. They think they're everything they do is a unicorn. They think it's like, I did it. I spent so much time and effort on it, so it's a unicorn. No. Only 1 out of 10 of these things are unicorns. You know, it's not based on your biased opinion of your own work. It's based on how well the people, like, it's based on click-through rates. It's like, are people saying that this is interesting or not? And so a lot of times marketers get confused. They think that their ads are unicorns, but in fact it's actually like a narwhal or a triceratops or some other creature that they thought was a unicorn, but really was something else. So the trick here is that you have to addition 10 different headlines. And so when I say additioning 10 different headlines, you know, how many headlines do you see here? You probably say 4, right? Actually, that's a wrong answer. This is only one headline. It's the same headline with different punctuation and different capitalization, you know, commas, exclamation points. That doesn't make a difference, okay? What you really need is 10 completely different headlines using different personas, using different emotional hooks, and formatting them using the template that I provided. And then you have to be objective and kind of spot the unicorn by auditioning all 10. And so that sounds like a lot of work. You might have thousands of ads in your campaigns, and you're like, what the heck, Larry? I'm not going to write, you know, 30,000 ads. But really, when I look at ads, yeah, you know, ad campaigns, it's usually the case that 80% of the clicks comes from 10% of the ad groups, you know what I mean? And 80% of those sales comes from just 10% of the offers. And so really, in order to be successful, you really just have to find one unicorn and ride it for all it's worth, basically. And so I don't think it's that much work because of the power law that says that, you know, 1 or 2 of these really killer ads are going to make a huge difference. So my number 4 PPC hack has to do with a unicorn, a detector for social media ads. So we've talked a lot about Google search, but obviously when I talk about PPC advertising, I'm talking about not just search, but also Facebook and Twitter ads, which are equally important. On Facebook and Twitter ads, you're basically promoting content, and they have that quality score thing going on where the higher the engagement rate of the content that you're producing, the lower your cost per click and the more impression share you will receive. It's the same thing as Google. So the trick is that you don't want to promote donkeys. You don't want to pay to promote any content that has like a 1 or 2 or 3% engagement rate, because then you'll be paying $3, $4, $5 a click. That's crazy. You only want to promote your high engagement content, and the question is, how do you determine whether or not the content is a unicorn or a donkey? What you do is you audition them. You can audition them with either small budgets on paid Facebook and Twitter, or you can just audition them organically. Like you can send them out by email. If you have a 20% open rate on an email and the average is 5% for your company, well then that's the unicorn, and so it's probably going to be doing well on Facebook too if you pay to promote them. Same idea. You can audition them organically on Twitter. If you have something with a very high engagement rate, you should pay to promote those. It's kind of like how the Hunger Games, how in the Hunger Games there was like the tributes and they had to battle each other out in the districts, and only the victor got celebrated in the capital. You only want to promote your very best stuff, the top 1 or 2 or 3% of your content. Here's an example of a stupid post that I wrote on Goodbye, Google Plus. It was just saying how dead Google is. I tweeted it organically. I saw that everybody who was seeing it was commenting on it. It had like a 28% engagement rate. That's very, very high. And so what I did was I paid $250 to pay to promote that tweet. And because it had such a high engagement rate, I ended up getting 1,500 retweets and 100,000 visitors for $250. So that's why you should only pay to promote your unicorns, not your donkeys. And basically, the way you find the high engagement stuff is you download the data from Twitter or from Twitter Analytics or Facebook Insights, and just sort by like engagement rates or click-through rates, and promote the top 1 or 2 or 3%. Guys, we're almost done here. We're down to my number 3 PPC hack for 2016 or 2017. Basically, it has to do with RLSA, remarketing list for search ads. Basically, if you haven't heard of this by now, it's not new. It's been around for like 2 or 3 years, but it's just basically showing search ads to people who've previously visited your site. So 2 things have to happen. They have to visit your site, and then secondly, they have to search for a keyword that is interesting to your business. And so there's a huge difference between RLSA versus non-RLSA campaigns in search. So we compared the same keywords, the same ad text, the same bids, and the same budgets. Okay, but ran campaigns where one of them was targeted using RLSA, the other one was targeted using non-RLSA, kind of vanilla search advertising. And basically what we found was that the RLSA, kind of the repeat search visitors, were substantially more likely to click. And I mean like 2 to 3 times higher click-through rates. For these are just different industries: shopping, tourism, and education. You can see comparing same ads, same keywords, same, everything the same. The click-through rates are through the roof when it comes to RLSA. And of course, higher click-through rates, that'll discount your cost per click substantially. So these are all like quality score 7, 8, 9, 10s, even in competitive verticals. But the other thing that we saw that was very interesting was that the brand affinity of RLSA, because they're familiar with your business from having visited you in the past, there was substantially higher conversion rates, 2 to 3 times higher likelihood to actually buy the thing that you're selling using RLSA. And that's because people tend to buy things not randomly, but rather they tend to buy from the people they know and trust and they've heard of before. So basically, the problem with RLSA, is one of low search volume. So, you're basically finding the low-hanging fruit. You're going after the kind of the people who are familiar with your brand. That dark circle there, which is a small number. There's generally a lot more people out there who haven't heard of you, who might be willing to buy from you. And so we want to figure out how can we kind of go after lots and lots of people, but also have these really great click-through rate and conversion rate metrics. So let's summarize here RLSA. it triples your click-through rates, it cuts your cost per click in half, triples your conversion rates. Unfortunately, it'll cut the impression volume by 10 times, and so that's a big problem. And so, when you think about what Bing Ads says, like how should I use remarketing for search? They say, well, you're supposed to optimize your bids and your ads and your keywords. And I'm like, really? Because if you remember, like the experiment that I did here, um, I showed the same keywords. I didn't have to change the bids, the keywords, or the ads. I duplicated it, and I got these huge results of double and triple. Google AdWords says to do the same thing. If you watch their RLSA video, they say the 3 things you're supposed to do with RLSA is to customize ad text, adjust bids, and broaden your budgets. But really, there's a 4th thing that you should do that they're not telling you. So what's that 4th thing? The 4th thing is basically if you're only using RLSA to adjust keyword bids and ad text, that's ridiculous because you're basically missing out on the most powerful feature of RLSA. The new way I think should be to this is for competitive markets, or if you have a small budget, you should fix the RLSA volume issue by dramatically expanding the size of those cookie pools. So remember how I was saying like you're only going after that dark spot of small people who are like really familiar with your brand. The solution is to use social media ads like Facebook, like Twitter. Remember how I said I spent $250 to get 100,000 clicks. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to make the brand familiarity 100 or even 1,000 times bigger for cheap. In fact, what you can do is if you have no money at all to spend on PPC, like very like if you only have like $1,000 to spend on PPC, then spend 100% of that budget on RLSA, okay? Because that's going to be the best performing stuff. The second idea is if you have more than like $1,000 to spend and you have lots of money to spend, the old allocation would have been to just say I'm going to go after RLSA and non-RLSA search, and split it 90-10. The new idea here is to say, like, you know what, forget about the non-RLSA search. That's the stuff that's the least productive, the lowest click-through rate, the highest cost per click, the worst conversion rate. Instead, spend the money on audience generation PPC campaigns such as YouTube or GDN or Gmail campaigns or Facebook or Twitter ads, and use that budget to drive awareness and the size of your cookie pools, and then remarket to them using RLSA. I hope that made sense. You can call me if you have questions. But basically, I wanted to give you 2 quick examples. This is one called Love Pop Cards. Maybe you've heard of them. They're kind of famous. They were on Shark Tank, and they had a deal done with Mr. Wonderful. But basically, the problem is with these cards, they make, like, among other things, unicorn cards. The problem with these cards are it's like $7, okay? So they can't be spending like $2 a click and have a 2% conversion rate. That's not going to work for this company. It's just there's not enough margins, and it's the same problem with so many competitive industries. And so what they do is they go on TV, like on The View or on Ellen and other big TV shows like Shark Tank to get a lot of people interested in this product, so they're creating the brand affinity, and then they harvest the demand using RLSA. So in this case, it's a Google Shopping remarketing. So that's the only way that they were able to make the economics of search work for this company. One other crazy example, I'm not sure if you've heard of this company, it's really popular in America. It's Cars for Kids. It has to do with donating your car to charity, but basically they do a lot of broadcast advertising, so radio, television, YouTube, that kind of stuff, just to get people familiar with the brand, and later when you have to donate your car to charity, it's like obviously you're going to go with the charity that you've heard of. Okay, so guys, what's the point of all this PPC marketing, and why are we doing this all in the first place? The idea here is we're trying to create and promote memorable content about your brand to the target market. People then see the ad. They won't necessarily take action right away, but they become biased. They have happy thoughts towards your company. And later, when the need arises to buy whatever it is you're selling, people will either do a branded search for your stuff, or they'll do an unbranded search but they'll be very, very likely to click and convert from you because they've heard of you before. So basically what I'm talking about is using PPC for not just demand capture, like just showing up on the search, but going after people before they search to try to bias them into being predisposed towards buying and clicking from your listing rather than all the others. Guys, we're down to my number 2 hack here. It has to do with combining RLSA with demographics, so like you can be even more picky. So in addition to using the RLSA filter, which kind of filters out all the people who have brand affinity, basically you can layer in additional demographic qualifiers like your gender or age or parental status. There's about half a dozen of these demographics that you can use in AdWords. Facebook, it does it even better. You can use remarketing, but then say, wait a minute, I don't want to remarket to everyone who visited my site. I only want to remarket to the people who have purchased a boat or recently moved or are recently engaged. Like you can overlay these qualifying demographic filters on top of your remarketing to make it super remarketing. How do you figure out what are the attributes and demographics that you should be targeting in your ads? So that's really interesting. Google Analytics has all this new, relatively new tool called User Explorer, where you can really drill down into your converting segments and figure out who exactly is your target market. This is different because a lot of times target market research is just based on kind of people's opinions, but here it's more data driven. You can actually figure out what are their interests, likes, kind of job titles, that kind of thing. And so by going after not only people who visited yourself recently and overlaying these demographic filters and then using the power of keyword search, this is really, really powerful because these are the people who are going to convert really quickly. So basically, kind of summarizing here what we're talking about, we're saying I'm going to use content like videos or blogs or whatever content. I'm going to promote that to the target audience using cheap display and social ads or even PR stunts. So memorable stories and video. I'm going to amplify that to the target market, tag them with a cookie, and then once I have them with the cookie, I can filter those cookies with demographic and behavioral cookies, and also or filters, sorry, and then hit them with remarketing ads on Facebook, on Google Display Network, and RLSA, and that is how you go from donkey land to unicorn land. Guys, I have one crazy last hack for you. This is a bonus one. It has to do with conversion rate optimization hack. And so remember how I was saying earlier that conversion rates were low and are going nowhere? Well, there's actually a huge discrepancies between donkey companies and unicorn companies. The median average conversion rate is 5%. Sorry, 2.35%. 2.35%. That's terrible. That's a donkey. The top 25% of advertisers are converting at 5.31% and above, and the top 10% of advertising companies are converting at 11.45 and above. So you need to be the unicorn, not the donkey. The problem is, yeah, because the unicorns convert 5 times better than the donkeys, but the problem is people they don't know how to turn their donkey into a unicorn, and so basically, how do you do this? Well, the problem is we spend so much time on stupid A/B testing of changing the font color, the spacing, the button, the image, the text, etc. What you should be doing instead is changing the offer. Okay, so not changing the formatting of the offer, but actually changing the offer. I wanted to give you an example of this, and that is an e-commerce example. So this is an e-commerce store that sells thousands of different products. And what you can see here is that the higher the click-through rates, the higher the conversion rates. So the products that have really, really, really low click-through rates, like 1 or 2 or 3% click-through rates, those have very, very, very low conversion rates, like 0.5% or 0.25%. Why? Because those products are terrible. But the products that are more interesting and more exciting, that have 25% click-through rates, they have substantially higher conversion rates than the boring products. And so I wanted to give you an example here, picnic pants versus drones. So picnic pants, that's an example of a really, really terrible, terrible product that is so terrible that is just very, very low click-through rate because it's stupid. You're basically eating off of your crotch, and it has a very, very low conversion rate. Drones, on the other hand, that is an example of a product that has a very, very high click-through rate and a very high conversion rates because they're so awesome. And so the worst thing you can do, like if you're doing lead generation or whatever, if you're trying to sell this picnic pants, the worst thing that you can do is put lipstick on a donkey. Like, oh, I know, we need better stock photography, or we need these trust logos, or a bigger buy now. We can make the buy now button 3 times bigger, or buy one picnic pants, get one free. Like, this is not going to really change the outcomes in a substantial way. Instead, what you need to do is kind of give up on picnic pants and come up with something different, a better offer. Otherwise, you're just going to be the hero of Donkey Hill. What you want to do is find a better hill to climb. And so I just wanted to give you one stupid example. Basically, my own company, WordStream, which is a PPC software company, for the first 3 years of our life, we were sending people to a free trial of the software. Now, that had a 2% conversion rate, which was terrible. And the reason was because it took so long for people to sign up and learn how to use the product. 2% of them became customers. Instead, what we did was we said, instead of trying to add videos or just trying to add better text or fewer fields, what we really need to do is change the offer and do an AdWords performance grader tool instead. So what it is now is just a report card. It just analyzes your PPC account and tells you like how you're doing and where you're wasting money. It takes 20 seconds to use. So you can see the report. It says like, oh, you're the worst 4% of advertisers I've ever seen. Like, that's really interesting because it gives you context. Tells you like, oh, that agency that you're using, they haven't logged in for over 90 days, or we saw that you're wasting $10,000 of spend in these ad groups. Like this is much more motivating and differentiated from just a free trial experience. And so my point, guys, is that WordStream has grown in revenues by over almost 3,000% in 5 years, and we didn't do it by mucking around with the offer. We changed the offer, and that is what generated the big changes. So in summary, just wrapping things up, the crazy idea is we talked a lot about click-through rates and how to raise them. We talked a lot about audiences and how to combine them with search, and my final idea was on Ninja conversion rate optimization. So there you have it. Be a unicorn in a sea of donkeys. That's all I have for today. Any questions from the audience?
Terrific. Thanks, Larry. That was pretty awesome. I think everybody's going to be looking at their donkeys after the end of this session, right? And that picnic pants session was that example was pretty incredible. That was awesome. All right. So one of the questions that are coming up from the audience a lot, Larry, is with reference to Bing as a part of your paid search mix. So in your experience, if you have a certain budget, what sort of a split are you looking at in terms of Google and Bing?
Well, in paid search, the first dollar that you should spend is on remarketing for search, right? Like, because if you only had $1 to spend, you want to make sure that you're buying the cheapest conversions, and the cheapest conversions would be people who have familiarity with your brand. Those are going to convert like crazy. So, so your first dollar should go to like Google and Bing RLSA campaigns. Do you follow? So you you shouldn't spend any money on non-RLSA AdWords until you've tapped out the volume of spend that you can spend on Bing ads, remarketing search. So it's kind of like, I view it as not an allocation split, it's more of a journey. Like the first amount of money goes to RLSA, the second amount you'll hit a limit because there's only so much you could spend on RLSA. It's going to, you're right. you're going to be limited by your impression share, right? Like the impression
Right.
volume. Then if you want to pile in more money, then you should be going after similar audiences, like on Bing search and on Google Ads. You see what I'm saying? Because like there you're going after people who are searching after the keywords that you're interested in, but only the people who have certain desirable characteristics. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah, and then the last amount of money that you should be spending is on vanilla search, because that's going to be the the 2% conversion rates and the what I mean, like the $5 clicks and that kind of stuff.
That's quite interesting there, yeah, because a lot of the companies and agencies, when they start off the campaigns, they essentially go after like text ads as their first strategy in their approach, combined with remarketing, retargeting, and then move on to RLSA and similar audiences, right? So what you're recommending is just do the exact opposite. Start off with the RLSA. It's a low-hanging fruit. It's a quick win. It's people that are exposed to your brand already. So your propensity to convert is going to be obviously the highest with those visitors.
Yes, the ROI is going to be like 10 times better for RLSA, right?
Right.
So I'm saying you said you call it the low-hanging fruit. That's actually a really great analogy. You harvest the low-hanging fruit from using the channel the strategy of remarketing wherever it is, including Facebook, including Twitter. Like I'm saying, you start with remarketing basically, and then you go to similar audiences, and then you go to like just interest or generic keyword targeting.
Very interesting. Thank you. The next question, Larry, is with reference to Facebook. Now, there's been a lot of debate over the effectiveness of Facebook for B2B. People still consider Facebook to be, much associated with B2C sort of like campaigns and advertising. You're obviously running over $1 billion in ads in spends. So in your experience, would you advise marketers to seriously consider Facebook as a B2B play as well?
Yes, obviously. Like, do you work at a company? do you use Facebook? You've answered your question. Like it's like obviously. Yes, people who work at B2B companies use Facebook, and they're checking it multiple times at work. They're checking it more frequently than say LinkedIn and other quote-unquote B2B venues. So it's all about the audience, not the venue. Like you have the people who you're trying to get in front of that visited your site, and if you're hitting them on Facebook, then who cares? I mean, it's the right people.
Right. Makes sense. Makes sense. The other question, Larry, is with reference to your favorite keyword research tools. Google's made some changes. I mean, you got to be logged in. You got to have a spend account in order to really look at and utilize their keyword research tools. So, in your opinion, what are your favorite keyword research tools that you'd utilize?
One of them I use is called BuzzSumo. I remember my whole thing about keyword research and headlines, it was about finding emotional hooks that have high click-through rates and high engagement rates. And so what BuzzSumo does is you can type in a word, and instead of just giving you keywords, it'll give you headlines of high engagement headlines that did well, and you can kind of copy some of those ideas, in your blog content or in your ad copy headline. It's the same thing like an ad, a search ad, a Facebook headline, or a they're all the same. It's just basically you need this high engagement, energy, emotion, urgency.
Yeah, it's pretty neat because it actually also shows you the shares for that content piece as well, right? So it kind of shows you the popularity of that. So it's also giving you good insights from that perspective. So
it's not a traditional keyword tool, but for my purposes, it tells me what's the most engaging hooks, and that's very interesting. Other than that, I use the Google keyword tool. I think it's fine for what it does. Maybe not great for SEO anymore, but it's still okay for PPC because it's going to tell you what are the keywords that are actually being searched on. You know what I mean? A lot of these other keyword tools will just give you like long tail crap that nobody searches for, and basically maybe SEMrush is pretty interesting. Okay. In a similar fashion, as far as competitive analysis goes, Larry, do you have any recommendations on competitive analysis tools that you'd utilize? The one that I use is SEMrush. Okay, great.
Organic versus paid, Larry. This is another question that's coming up. So if you have a certain limited budget and you want to prioritize your overall digital marketing strategy and incorporate organic and paid, what are your thoughts with reference to that?
You know, the way I'm doing advertising here is it requires promoting content in the first place. You know what I mean? Like it's there had to be a really interesting. Remember that story about the Google Plus is dead, and I promoted it for $250, and it got 100,000 clicks.
Yep.
Well, the idea here is that the paid search works, or the paid campaigns, including social, work the best if there is interesting organic content to promote in the first place, you know. So I don't know how you separate the two. You kind of need them both, you know.
Okay. Your thoughts on the mobile initiatives, Larry, that Google's essentially doing, and the fact that there's a whole bunch of new features that have been added on to Google paid ads when it comes to splitting your mobile and desktop, right? So in your experience, how's that coming along? Is that going to get definitely a lot more importance, a lot more clicks were shared in 2017? What are your thoughts related to that?
You know, it varies dramatically by vertical. So like, I think the local businesses are going to do great. Like, you know, the ones, you know, like your shops nearby or restaurants or gas stations, those types of businesses are going to do fantastically well on mobile, you know. But you know, what about B2B software companies, or you know, like there's certain verticals where it's just very, very difficult. Like no matter how many bells and whistles that you have on mobile, in terms of the ads, that it's just still very difficult to convert them using those features and functions. So it's just the only idea here is it's just very different, and you kind of have to rethink these marketing strategies, not just a little bit, but sometimes really flip them on their heads. Like for example, we promote like WordStream, like we have like I don't know, like a $8 million marketing budget this year or something. But basically, what we're doing is we're promoting content on mobile, okay, and then we try to we cookie those people, and then we convert them on desktop. You see what I'm saying? Like it's using using remarketing. So it's just you got to think about how these things are different, and come up with a strategy that makes sense.
Terrific. That's awesome, Larry. So I guess just in terms of finishing off, could you talk a little bit more about WordStream and what it does, just for the audience's benefit?
Sure. WordStream is a PPC software management software product for managing AdWords and Bing ads and Facebook ads, but it's specifically for small businesses. So you know, we work with kind of, you know, $1,000 to $25,000 a month in spend, and you know, it's for companies and agencies who are looking to kind of automate stuff and kind of not have to spend a ton of time using this stuff. So so we have a lot of agency customers and advertisers where they just use this product. It's something called the 20-minute PPC work week, where it kind of just tells you these are the 10 things that you should focus on this month. Or you know what I mean? Like it doesn't. It's not for spending like a million hours a month. It's really to find like low-hanging fruit and that kind of stuff. All right.
Got it. Terrific. I'll be getting more questions, Larry, but I think I'll respect your time and end this session right here. On behalf of the entire WSI network, Larry, I'd like to thank you for participating in this session today and sharing your terrific insights. I'm sure it's a lot of food for thought today. And for all the ICs, thank you for participating in today's session. We'll be emailing you a copy of the recording. Great. Once again, thanks, Larry. Appreciate your time today.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.
I bet.
Bye.